Lionel Sandner from Edvantage Interactive, and I'm here to introduce Learning Loop, a way to teach your AP course that ensures maximum success for your students. Let me ask you these three questions. Do you want your students to deeply understand the concepts in your curriculum? Do you want your students to study correct concepts and practice the correct level of questions? And finally, do you want your students to stay organized and understand what they do and don't know in your class? If you've answered yes to all three of those questions, then you'll be interested in Edvantage Interactive's Learning Loop. Learning Loop is an easy-to-follow process that ensures your students stay organized, learn in depth the big ideas of their AP course, and reduce your prep time. And this gives you the added benefit of making your teaching day just a little bit more manageable. So I invite you to take a few minutes and come join me to learn how Edvantage Interactive's Learning Loop will not only save you time over the school year, it will significantly impact on student achievement. Let's take a closer look at the key features of Learning Loop. I'm going to start by asking you to picture the last great adventure you had while traveling. You probably had a plan with some important stops along the way for your trip, but I think the fun really started when you added something new or different to your plans. Learning Loop is a lot like that trip with all the adventure both planned and added. Or simply put another way, you take your current teaching plans and add one or two features from the Edvantage Interactive program, and you've got the start of Learning Loop. So now let's look at Learning Loop in a bit more detail. When you plan a lesson, it typically has a beginning, middle, and end, just as we were taught at university. The Edvantage Science AP books have this model built into every section. There's a warm-up activity designed to activate prior knowledge, focus students, and provide motivation. Then there's the lesson, an ideal balance of content, some sample and practice problems. And all of this is designed to introduce new concepts and then reinforce these concepts with practice. Then the lesson is completed with various types of assessment opportunities. There could be an activity, or maybe there's just additional in-depth practice questions that have a range of different cognitive levels. I think it's important to note at this point, too, that the book is designed to be written in. Time and time again, I've read in the research that it shows when kids represent their understanding in a clear and concise manner, they improve their understanding. And that's one of the reasons why here at Edvantage Interactive, we highly recommend students put their answers directly into the book as part of the success of Learning Loop. And using the Learning Loop process is the foundation for helping your students meet their goals. When you plan your amazing trip, you also need a map. Learning Loop starts with a map that shows the kids what they need to know with a series of I can statements for each lesson or section. Now what's interesting and kind of a twist on the I can statements is we've added a formative assessment strategy called traffic lights. Designed to be an opportunity for student self-assessment, the traffic lights allow the students to determine how well they understand the concepts related to the I can statements. And so what this might look like in practice is something that I did in my class. You couldn't take a test or a quiz until you completed all the traffic lights within that chapter. And all those traffic lights had to be green, meaning that the student understood the statements. And then after I had marked the test and handed them back, the questions that the students got wrong needed to be revisited and cross-referenced to the I can statements. And now, each of those students had a reference of what they needed to study when it came time for the big exam at the end of the year. And I always sort of use the term with the kids, why study what you already know? Also notice the QR code in the second column of the traffic lights page. Using a web-enabled mobile device, students can go directly back to the section in question for easy review. And that's part of the strength of the Learning Loop. It's bringing in an effective, easy way to use technology to support student learning. And this makes Learning Loop a great tool for schools using or thinking of using a one-to-one technology model. Another effective part of Learning Loop and using technology is where you see a QR code placed next to a question. Using a web-enabled mobile device, students can get a short video from one of the authors showing how to solve a problem. Can you imagine having that kind of support when you were studying at university? We didn't even imagine the opportunity to get on our phone and to watch and listen to the author solve a problem from their book. As educators tell us, Learning Loop just works. So now as we work our way through the loop, we need to close that loop. Once your students have completed the questions at the end of a lesson or section, and before any formal assessment of understanding, they need an opportunity to practice their new and emerging skills and knowledge. And again, here's where technology can be a great help, but only if it's implemented properly. Rather than creating another worksheet of questions, why not use a quiz developed by the author team that is designed to identify and support areas your students do and don't know? I think we all know of situations where students go online and answer a bunch of free questions, and while the marks may be high, the students really haven't been asked the right questions. At AdvantageScience.com, our online study guide that supports the books, students get high-quality questions and immediate feedback when they incorrectly answer a question. And this is key for two reasons. First, when the question is wrong, they receive an explanation of why it was the wrong choice. And second, they get directed back to specific pages in the book for additional review. This allows for a greater efficiency and effectiveness for students when preparing for an exam. Now let's be frank here. Can you think of a better way to support your students? You may be thinking you could build this all yourself, but why would you? The Learning Loop does it all for you and gives you the time to work on specific issues your students have during class time. So by the end of the school year, like that trip you planned, you reach your destination. In this case, it's the AP final exam. But when it's done, you realize it's the journey that made the trip so amazing, not the destination. Learning Loop provides you those tools to make those memories positive and successful for all your students taking your course. Let's review the 4 features of Learning Loop that make it work for you and your students. 1. A write-in textbook designed to keep students organized. 2. Embedded QR codes for visual support. 3. The traffic lights, which are student self-assessment tasks using I can statements. 4. AdvantageScience.com online quizzes with automatic grading and incorrect answer support. We believe this is the complete learning loop created specifically for you and your students. As well as our learning loop, our program helps support you as the teacher by offering full customization for each of our books. This allows you to add content, quizzes, and any other hard copy activity. In fact, you can add anything you are now photocopying to your book. We want to support you in creating a resource that makes your AP program personalized, interactive, and successful. For more information on Learning Loop and upcoming professional development opportunities to work with Learning Loop and Advantage Interactive Resources, please contact us at advantageinteractive.com.